Okay. I think I'm live. I'm waiting for it to pop up. There's a delay. You could probably hear me right now. Okay. Welcome, everybody, and Ellie. I think you're the only one watching it. That's my niece. Thank you guys for joining me at SJG Perspective. This is really my first stream. I'm trying to work all these stuff out. If you've been following me, you know. If not, you don't, but it doesn't really matter. Anyway, today I want to talk about Syria and Trump pulling all the Syrian troops, or not the Syrian troops out. That'd be weird. Actually pulling all the American troops out of Syria, and how I think it's actually a fantastic idea. So we're going to talk about that starting right now. I'ma go get it tonight. Okay, so that is not what was supposed to happen. So we're gonna cut back over to that. That was a little faux pas on my part. Anyway, I'm sorry. Like I said, it's my first stream. Okay, back off. That didn't go as smoothly as possible. I should do a redo, but I won't. I won't torture you with that. I also don't know if that cut out because I've been having some audio issues, but that's not what I'm here to discuss. So let's get to what I'm here to discuss. So everyone's pitching a fit about Trump pulling the troops out of Syria. And I think it is a fantastic idea and should have been done a long time ago, and we should have never been there in the first place. So there's some backstory to this that not many people know, and I'm going to kind of go over that a little bit with you today. This is not an exhaustive completely exhaustive reasons why we shouldn't be in Syria, but there's some very interesting points that led up to the 2011, 2012 when all the breakdown in Syria started happening. And from there, all the demonizing we did here in the West of Syria and of Assad, and how he needed to be overthrown, he needed to be out of there. It all happened during the uprisings. It's totally escaping me right now. You know what I'm talking about? The Arab Springs. Thank you. And how the whole deal with Assad around him being a terrible dictator and a terrible person, and he needed to step down and he needed to be overthrown, was all a smokescreen. The real reason we were over there is what I'm going to discuss today, tonight rather. So I did want to touch on I'm going to get it all queued up here. I want to go back to 2006 when General Wesley Clark was talking with, was doing an interview with NPR. And in that interview, he revealed some pretty interesting information that happened right shortly after 9/11. So without further ado, let me cut over to that and let's take a look at this. And that is not coming up with capture. Sorry, my bad. Let's try that again. There it is. All right.
9/11, I went through the Pentagon.
Okay.
I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who had used to work for me. And one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September.
So just to pause for a second. Again, because that was a little bit convoluted with my transition. I'm learning. This is General Wesley Clark talking to NPR about what interesting information he found out right after 9/11, and this interview was in 2006. So listen up. Here we go.
I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They've just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later. And by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk and picked up a piece of paper. He said, He said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
Libya we already took out. That's pretty obvious.
The truth is about the Middle East is, had there been no oil there, it would be like Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is threatening to intervene in Africa.
Right.
The problem is the opposite. We keep asking for people to intervene and stop it. And there's no question that the presence of petroleum throughout the region has sparked great power involvement. Whether that was the specific motivation for the coup or not, I can't tell you, but there's always been this attitude that somehow we could intervene and use force in the region.
So, as you just heard him say, we had it on the books for a long time to go into Syria. And there's an interesting reason why. Now, some people have tried to debunk this reason, and their facts or their information they raise about it really doesn't hold water when you really put it under a microscope. And I want to touch on that right now. Actually, the article comes from this article right here, or Global Research, right? And the article, you could Google it, is called "The Secret Stupid Saudi-U.S. Deal on Syria Oil Gas Pipeline War." As you can see here, this whole article is very informative. Dig in there, read all of it. But the part I'm going to cover here is just this last this last couple paragraphs, and I broke them out into this just because it's easier to read. So, out of this article, it talks about this. Now, this is one of the main reasons that nobody knows about. Some people have tried to debunk, but it doesn't hold water. This is something that is very interesting and correlates perfectly with the time that Syria started falling apart. It says, Qatar, today the world's largest exporter of LNG, natural gas, largely to Asia, wants the same European market that Iran and Syria eye. For that, they would build pipelines to the Mediterranean. Here is where getting rid of the pro-Iran Assad is essential. In 2009, Qatar approached Assad to propose construction of a gas pipeline from Qatar's North Field through Syria onto Turkey and then to the European Union, or Europe. And here's the funny part. What did Assad do? Assad refused to give him the pipeline. He said, no, you're not bringing that pipeline through here. Citing Syria's long friendly relationship with who? Russia and Gazprom. Who is the biggest person that we are demonizing right now in the West? Russia and China, which, interestingly enough, the refusal combined with the Iran-Syria gas pipeline agreement in 2011 ignited the full-scale Saudi and Qatar assault on Assad's power, financing al-Qaeda terrorists, recruits of jihadist fanatics willing to kill Alawite and Shiite infidels for $100 a month in a Kalashnikov. That's a gun. The Washington neoconservative warhawks, now right here, the Washington neoconservative warhawks in and around the Obama White House, they were around the Obama White House and they're around the Trump White House. The neoconservatives and the warhawks and the military-industrial complex and the deep state, it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. The powers that be are underlying, and they're the ones who keep pushing us into these wars and keeping us in these wars and fomenting these wars. And I will say, I was not a huge Trump supporter. I will put that right out there. I think he's a bit of a buffoon at times. And I'm going to offend people that I'm at all giving him props, and then I'm going to offend the other groups that I don't completely lick his butt. Because I'm not a Trump humper. I'm going to put that right out there. But I will say this. He's our president, and I'm hoping and praying that he does an awesome job. Because if he does an awesome job, that means that America is still surviving. So I wasn't in love with him. But I'm not 100% against him. And this decision he's making, if he actually pulls it off, which I don't know if he's gonna, but if he pulls this off by getting us out of Syria and getting us out of Afghanistan, it will be an awesome thing that everyone should be applauding. Why do we want to stay in more wars, people? Well, we can't just brush aside the deaths that have happened and the lives that have been sacrificed in Afghanistan. No, it's terrible, the lives that have been that have been sacrificed in Afghanistan with us being over there. But do we want to sacrifice more? We're not doing anything good over there. We're fomenting more problems than we are good over there. And in Syria, what are we doing over there with our 2,000 to 4,000 troops, somewhere in that range? We're helping, which I'm going to touch on these points later. I'm kind of going to probably repeat myself. We're helping the very jihadists that we're killing in Afghanistan. We kill them in Afghanistan and we support them and give them arms to them in Syria so that we can get rid of ISIS. Well, if getting rid of ISIS was our only goal, why wouldn't we be buddy to buddy with Assad? Because that's Assad's goal, and that's Russia's goal. They want to get the terrorists out of their nation. Don't forget, Russia is Syria's ally. They're buddies. They have a pact together. They're allies. So if their nation is under attack, Russia's coming to help them. Get rid of the terrorists, which we say is the only reason why we're over there. But it's absolutely not, and it's quite evident when you look deeply into the facts. The Washington neoconservative war hawks in and around the Obama White House, and along with their allies in the right-wing Netanyahu government, were cheering from the bleachers as Syria went up in flames after the Arab Springs of 2011. Today, the U.S.-backed wars in the Ukraine and in Syria are both two fronts in the same strategic war to cripple Russia and China, and to rupture any Eurasian counterpole to the U.S.-controlled New World Order. Now, we throw the New World Order, bust out your tinfoil hats, I can hear people saying already. The fact of the matter is, it's not even a conspiracy, it's the truth. The powers that be want to globalize, and they want America at the forefront of that. There's some good to that, but there's also some bad to that. And I don't want to go into that right now. But it's absolutely the truth. Back to the article. In each, control of energy pipelines, this time primarily of natural gas pipelines from Russia to Europe via Ukraine, from Iran and Syria to Europe via Syria, is the strategic goal. The true aim of the U.S. and the Israel-backed ISIS is to give, and I don't know if Israel's backed by ISIS completely, I maybe don't totally agree with that, but whatever, is to give the pretext for bombing Assad's vital grain silos, oil refineries, to cripple the economy in preparation for a Gaddafi-style elimination of Russia and China and Iran ally Bashar al-Assad. We already did it in Libya. You heard the general from 2006 saying the U.S. had a plan to go into all these nations. We've already obviously done Afghanistan and Iraq. We did Libya, and now we've been working on Syria, and we've been working on Syria through what we call a proxy war, meaning we can't really put troops on the ground and be firing bullets ourselves, but we're training and supplying and helping the rebels who are trying to overthrow Assad. And these same rebels, don't forget, are like the al-Nusras. And which al-Nusra is an offshoot of Al-Qaeda. And ISIS is just another faction, a more extreme faction of Al-Qaeda. And so we say we're over there to get rid of ISIS, and we've done it. They're taken care of. And so that's what Trump said. We've taken care of them, we're pulling out. But see, what he's doing is he's pulling the cards of the people that underlyingly really want us in these wars. And it's not because we're trying to get rid of ISIS over there. And it's not because we're trying to get rid of al-Assad because he's such a bad guy. It's because there's more nefarious underlying reasons. And that is the truth. And if you don't think it is, well, you can have that opinion, and you may be well educated on it. And who knows, maybe I'm wrong. But when you really do look at some of these, it's pretty, the full picture here, it's pretty suspicious. You go back to all the absolute propaganda and demonizing we did against Syria, saying that they gassed their own people. Look into those gassings of the mustard and the chlorine and so on and so forth. A lot of those have been proved false. They come out in the media that Assad is gassing his people, but that's all the news blurbs. He's gassing his people. He's gassing his people. He's gassing his people. We need to do something. That's the reason why those gassings happened, and why everyone was pointing the finger at Assad, is because they wanted to get international attention, international support to go in there and absolutely lay waste to him and get rid of him. He didn't gas his people. Those have been proven false time and time again. But then that's not followed up on in the media. You don't hear that unless you dig into it and you do a little research and you find out, oh, wow, it doesn't seem like he did do those. And there has been, it's been proven back in, I think it was 2013, that the rebels actually did what we call a false flag in the whole conspiracy community, the tinfoil hat community. They did a false flag, which was they detonated some of this gas. I don't know if it was mustard or chlorine or whatever. And then they pointed their fingers at Assad. Assad did it. Assad did it. Well, when they dug into it, they found out, no, he didn't. It was the rebels that did it. The rebels that we're supporting, we're giving arms to. So anyways, going back, we had a plan to go in. We already took Libya out. Hillary Clinton made that real clear. She, we came, we saw, he died, and she laughed about it. And an interesting side note on that is, do you know that Libya, Gaddafi was actually looking to get away from, which will be another video because I can't tie it all into this one, was actually looking to get away from using other currency for trading in oil. He was actually going to get rid of the petrodollar and was going to start trading oil in his own national currency backed by gold. And what people, and this has been happening, and it's happening right now with Russia and China. It started in 2012. Them getting away from the world reserve currency, the petrodollar, and deciding to build up their or create their own financial train, if you will, cutting America out. And now, like I said, this is a whole different subject that I don't want to just throw a blurb to, but I guess I'll throw a quick blurb to. We got off of a quick synopsis of the petrodollar, and I'm not I don't have a doctorate in this. There's a lot of stuff I still don't understand, but the basic synopsis of the petrodollar is this. In the 70s, I think Nixon took the American dollar off of gold, which the dollar was backed by gold, and he said, no, we're gonna just print money now, and the Treasury, United States Treasury, we're just gonna print it up, and that's what we're going to do. We're not really going to have any backing. The backing of it is the credit of the United States, because we're at that time the most powerful nation in the world. Well, we made a deal with Saudi Arabia. Have you ever wondered why we don't point our finger at Saudi Arabia and we're not totally outraged at the human rights problems in Saudi Arabia? Well, it's very easy. It's because we have a deal with them that said, you sell your oil in our dollars to everybody, and we'll protect you. You sell your dollars through American dollar bill, or you sell your oil in American dollar bills, and we will protect you. We'll give you protection. That's why this whole Khashoggi thing, which I was going to do another video on, we haven't done anything to them, and we're not going to do anything to them, is because we're in bed with the devil. Saudi Arabia, they're horrible. And so that's the reason why we don't point our finger at Saudi Arabia, which has a terrible, far worse human rights violations than Syria did. But Syria wouldn't allow us and some other countries we wanted to do it with let us do what we wanted to do with the pipeline. So, well, they got to go. And there's more reasons than that. It wasn't just that, but that is a definite power playing factor in this that people don't know and don't talk about. So, yeah. So that's kind of my thoughts on that part of it. So I've touched on a lot of these, but I've touched on, how I think it's a great idea Trump's pulling us out of there. We should have never been there. We didn't get congressional approval to be there. Obama tried to, and the Congress, the will of the people, said, no, we don't want to be in another war in Syria, especially when Russia's involved and all this. We don't want to get involved with that. We did it anyways. We put a small I think it's under the more of a police action, right? Under the powers after 9/11, where we could go after terrorists. We just kind of slid in there. We weren't invited in there. We weren't wanted in there. And it almost got us into a full-fledged hot war with Russia more than once. And we said, well, we're in there to get ISIS. Well, if we were in there to get ISIS, we should have been patting old Assad on the back, because that's what he was doing. But that wasn't what we were doing. So, like I touched on before, and then I'm going to end this up, is we should not be there. It is not good that we're there. And people that are saying it's good that we're there are the ones that are the war hawks and the ones that want to keep us in these wars for other reasons. Because it isn't about human rights. It isn't about Assad and he's such a bad guy and we need to tear him. We need to get him, pull it. We need to dethrone him. We need to get him off. That'd be bad. Pulling it and getting him off. But anyways, that's not what I mean. That isn't what it's all about. That's what they want you to think it's all about, but it's truly not what it's all about. So, anyways, those are some of my thoughts, and I say good job, Trump. Good job. Get these guys out of there, And, you know, think what you want to think about him. This is a great decision. Now, whether or not he pulls it off is yet to be seen. Because just like JFK wanted to get us out of Vietnam, we see how that ended for him. So him wanting to pull us out of Syria and then Afghanistan, if he does it, man, I will be a cheerer. I will be clapping my hands and cheering, because it makes no sense for us to be there at all. But I don't know if he's going to actually be able to pull it off, especially with everyone, you know, raging, Republican or Democrat alike, raging against him on this. It's pretty eye-opening that these people are the ones who you really see how actually close they are, and how they're not really that divided, especially when it comes to war. And the deep state, I know that used to be a conspiratorial term, the deep state. You'd have to wear your tinfoil hat for that, and I got to make a tinfoil hat and just put it on just for fun. That's the truth. That is being proven more and more to be a thing. FDR said it. He said, hey, you guys got to watch out for the military-industrial complex. It's going to rise up and try to run your nation and run the world. And the military-industrial complex is running the world, because it runs our nation. And right now we are the superpower of the world. But watch out, man. China and Russia, Iran, all these, you know, countries, they're making a play. And I'm not defending them, saying that they're just these, you know, awesome glistening white, you know, idols of peace, and they're just, no, of course they have problems. In China, oh my God, what they're doing right now to their people, the dystopian authoritarianism stuff going on there with the social credit rating and whatnot, which is another video I want to make. That's crazy. But let's just be real of why we're there. Let's be open and honest and have a conversation. And let's say, you know what? It makes no sense we're over there putting our boys at harm and putting ourselves in a opportunity where somebody could miscalculate and get into an actual full-fledged one-on-one confrontation with Russia. That's coming, I think, anyways. But let's not speed the process up. Get them out of there. And so if Trump can do it, I'm all for it, man. I think it's a great, great, great plan. So other than that, I think that that's about all I was going to say on that. So thank you guys for tuning in. And until next time, we'll see you when we see you. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you like it. And that's about it. So we'll talk to you later. Bye. I'ma go get it tonight.